suspects that probably there was a change in reports. The laboratory did a mistake, and he would go and cross-check 3 to 4 times. So one is that one should not go into denial. One should hold the bull by the horn and then treat it. That's why we say that diabetes is like a marriage. Once you get married to diabetes, you have to treat and give it a lot of respect. It will last you a lifetime without giving you issues. Having said that, let me just go through what is diabetes. And one, you should not stop enjoying your life just because of diabetes. It needs to be given its due importance, but it not should not stop you from enjoying life. Now, this is in 1922, 100 years back was when insulin was actually discovered. And insulin is actually one of the top 5 medical discoveries in the world. Why I say so is that there is a type of diabetes called type 1 diabetes, where the person with type 1 diabetes requires insulin for survival. And the discovery of insulin or the invention of insulin actually converted a fatal disease like type 1 diabetes, because till 1922, children with type 1 diabetes would not survive beyond 15 days. Today, 100 years, we are celebrating 100 years of insulin in 2022. Insulin has made people survive with type 1 diabetes, and you will be glad to know that the lifespan of persons with type 1 diabetes is almost matched with people without diabetes. So we have come a very, very long way. I'm starting with insulin because we are celebrating the centenary year of insulin discovery globally, and it's one of the top 5 discoveries in the world. And importantly, whenever we talk about insulin to any of our patients, there is a sudden they pull their chair back and they feel that the doctor's punishing the patient because he didn't do well. So insulin, whether it's a type 1 diabetes or a type 2 diabetes, your insulin is not present in people with type 1 diabetes, and in people with type 2 diabetes, it doesn't work. So this is the boy who got insulin for the first time, and he went on to live for 13 years after insulin was discovered. Now, though there is a terminology called diabetes, and it's scientifically called diabetes, we in India have close to 80 million people with diabetes, and we have approximately 99 million people with pre-diabetes. So we have a larger load of people who are in the borderline stage of diabetes, who are extremely eager to become diabetes. And the usual turnover or the crossover is almost 1 crore of patients every year. Second important fact about diabetes is that in India, the diagnosis of diabetes is approximately 1.5 decades earlier as compared to Caucasian patients. So we are usually around 40 to 42 years of age is when a person gets diagnosed with diabetes. Again, diabetes is a non-communicable disorder. It doesn't spread from one family member to another just because living with them. So this is what is all about diabetes. And what is blood sugar? Now for every cell, for every organ, for every cell in our body to work, we need fuel. And fuel is sugar. As you fill petrol in a car, you fill diesel in a car for a car to run, we need glucose and sugar for our engine to run. Now, by just filling petrol in a car, the car doesn't run. The petrol has to reach the engine. For reaching the engine in our body, the transport mechanism is insulin. So sugar is the fuel for our body. Insulin is the key, which once we ignite it, it makes the glucose and the sugar reach every organ. And then every organ uses the sugar as fuel, and our metabolism happens. So glucose and sugar are very much required for us. We get glucose from various forms of food, especially starch and sugary food. It gets broken down in our stomach into glucose, which is a monosaccharide, and gets absorbed. and it goes into every cell of ours, and every cell utilizes it to produce energy. And that is how the engine in our body works. So whether it's the kidney, whether it's the brain, whether it's the heart, whether it is the liver, whether it's the spleen, everything works on this particular fuel, which is glucose. Now, what happens when the sugars rise? You know, because there are, I put an MCQ because I didn't know there'll be 500 people. Now, why do blood glucose levels go high? Many a time when we ask our people with diabetes, they say कि sir मैं last week शादी में गया था तो 5 दिन से sweets खाया. That's the reason I got diabetes. Some would say that I have gone on a vacation for a month and I ate wrong. That's why I got diabetes. Some will say that this report is not right. But sugar from a normal phase to a borderline, what we call as pre-diabetes, to diabetes takes minimum of 4 to 7 years. So you don't change immediately. You change over a period of time. Your pancreas, which is an organ which lies just below the stomach, makes a lot of hormones, out of which one of the most important hormones is insulin. And what it does is that this insulin takes care of the glucose around, and it just does the job of a postman. It goes and deposits sugar in our fat, in our muscle, in our heart, in our kidney, in our brain, and that's how we function. Now, for some reason, if the insulin doesn't work or we do not make enough insulin, there'll be a lot of sugar left in our blood. And that is why blood glucose comes in. Before glucose rises, the insulin in our body and the pancreas in our body compensates for a very, very long time. It compensates for close to 5 to 7 years. The body has that kind of a defense mechanism that will compensate by making more and more and more insulin to make sure that our sugars don't rise. But a day will come when that excess amount of insulin cannot take care of our glucose, and our blood sugar in the body will rise. And that's why I say insulin locks the door to your cells to let glucose in. Again, when should I go to a doctor? Especially for diabetes. Now, diabetes per se is an asymptomatic problem. That means there are not many symptoms. 30 to 40% patients would have symptoms. So, who should get oneself screened? The present recommendation is at 35 years of age. We have made a recommendation to the government of India to actually go down to 25 years of age, because in the pandemic and just before the pandemic, we were seeing the diagnosis of diabetes going down to much, much younger age groups. And the pandemic actually taught us a lot of lessons, taught us to have empathy and sympathy for a lot of people who have suffered. And that's why annual checkup, and again, when you get symptoms, is something that one should approach the doctors. Now, what are the tests that one do to find out if you have diabetes? One very important thing is that once you have crossed 35 years of age, irrespective whether you have any kind of symptoms, an annual checkup is mandatory in India. Almost 35% of our people with diabetes at diagnosis have some symptoms. 65% are diagnosed accidentally, usually during an annual checkup, usually during a pre-op checkup, usually during an executive health checkup, and so they are usually asymptomatic. Now, what are the tests we do for diagnosis of diabetes? The most important or the most sensitive screening test for picking up diabetes is what we call as the oral glucose tolerance test, that you give glucose of 75 grams and do a blood sugar after 2 hours. It is practically not possible to do it. Fasting blood sugar, random blood sugar, fasting and postprandial blood sugar, or an HbA1c. An HbA1c is an averaged glucose for the past 90 days, can help you in confirming diabetes. You can also check at glucose meters at home, but you'll have to cross check with the laboratory where diagnosis. There is no scan, there is no X-ray, there is no non-interventional test like we do a saturation or something where somebody can look at somebody's face and say you have diabetes. So you need blood tests. Urine tests are not enough to confirm diabetes. You require blood tests. So it could be a fasting blood sugar, fasting and postprandial blood sugar, random blood sugar, or the 3-month average sugar, which we call as the HbA1c. Again, what is it? Though there are multiple types of diabetes, and today we have actually classified people also based on their symptoms and their response, which we call as phenotypic classification. But type 2 diabetes compromises majority of diabetes in India. Close to 95% of people with diabetes in India have type 2 diabetes. Type 2 basically means that your body is not making enough insulin, or the body can't use the insulin it makes. So basically you have a fault in the quantity of insulin, ज़्यादा insulin है नहीं, to the quality of insulin. So only when your quantity and quality of insulin goes down, you will develop type 2 diabetes, found mainly from age groups of 35 to 40. If somebody is diagnosed with a younger age groups, you can have multiple. Suppose you have a 20 or a 25-year-old, though we see a lot of type 2 diabetes today. If we have, then you may have to do certain tests to find out what type of diabetes. It could be what we call as type 1. It could be an autoimmune type of diabetes. It could be a secondary type of diabetes, secondary to something else. Then there's another form of diabetes called monogenic diabetes, which is called maturity onset diabetes in the young. It runs in an hereditary in families. So if you have a very young onset diabetes around 20 years of age, you may require some tests to actually tell you what type of diabetes you are. But if you're diagnosed about 35, 40, majority of the people would have type 2 diabetes, though 3 to 5% of people could have other forms of diabetes also. Now, what is type 2 diabetes? I can see some hands raised. Can we take the questions at the end? Is that okay?
Yes, please take the questions at the end.
So type 2 diabetes is when your body cannot make enough insulin or cannot use it properly, and the blood glucose remains in your blood. And then the glucose tries to enter the cell through different mechanisms. So you have a straight road going to a town, and the glucose would use some kind of a guerrilla warfare and enter your house from behind. That's the problem which occurs. When the sugar remains high in the blood and it doesn't enter the cell through the normal pathway, which insulin allows it to enter, and because of the lack of insulin, glucose remains in the blood, then it tries to enter your cell from a different pathway, and that damages the organ. That is how blood glucose causes a lot of damage. Problem is that almost 25% of people who are diagnosed new with diabetes can have diabetes for up to 5 to 6 years. That's the problem with type 2 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes, the person will know exactly the date and time that he got diabetes. Type 2 diabetes develops gradually, takes 5 to 7 years, could take lesser time in some people, but majority 5 to 7 years. It is driven by obesity. So obesity and excess deposition of fat in various organs of the body drives diabetes. Type 2 diabetes drives heart disease and kidney disease globally. So diabetes, type 2 diabetes is a global health problem, and we can stem it by only improving two things: nutrition and exercise. And since I'm speaking to an audience of well-learned women across India, one message I'd like to give everyone is that You will see on all channels, social media, that reverse diabetes, prevent diabetes. Lot of things are happening, and a lot of apps telling you that you could reverse diabetes, you can prevent diabetes. But the only way one can actually prevent diabetes after decades of research, what it shows is that you have to improve the nutrition of the mother when she's pregnant. Maternal nutrition actually plays the most pivotal role in the future of the child when the child grows up. So if the nutrition of the mother, I heard Dr. Surjit Kaur speaking about female feticide. I think maternal nutrition is a subject which is not well understood in our country, and we believe that if a woman is fed well with lot of food and she gains weight, then the child also gains weight. And during lactation also, there's a lot of food being given, lot of laddus being given, lot of stuff being given to make sure that there is excess nutrition to be given, but that is at fault. We improve maternal nutrition. It goes to the if you have good improved nutrition to the mother, it improves the nutrition of the child inside, which is the fetus. The child comes up with non-insulin resistant cells, and when he grows up, he doesn't get diabetes. So a 3 kilo or a 2.5 kilo Indian baby, if you compare to a 2.5 or a 3 kilo Caucasian baby, the Indian baby at birth itself has 30% extra fat, though it is smaller in size, and the Caucasian baby is much lesser in fat. This is related to the maternal nutrition. So the key to prevent diabetes globally and in our country is to improve maternal nutrition. Coming back to this, type 2 diabetes is the most common type of diabetes, develops gradually. As we say, age, obesity, and some amount of heredity. But importantly, I would say that heredity loads the gun and we pull the trigger. The trigger is lifestyle and nutrition. So a lot of us have heredity. If you don't pull the trigger with a poor lifestyle and nutrition, you will never develop diabetes. Now, how do I know that I have diabetes? As I said, that 35 to 40% of people would not have any kind of symptoms. So it's extremely important that about 35 years of age, annually do a checkup. If you have any of these symptoms, you should consider getting your check done earlier as well. Again, these are some of the symptoms which you may have, but not necessary. So a lot of patients say that I don't have wounds which don't heal. I do not get up in the night to pass urine. I'm not feeling tired. My vision is also okay. Still, you will have to get yourself checked. So these are various symptoms: urination, thirst, hunger. So this is the earlier triads, that you have excess urination, you have excess thirst, and excess hunger. These are cardinal symptoms of diabetes. But these are also symptoms. Fatigue. One of the most common symptoms is fatigue. If your sugars are very, very high, you can lose weight. You can have sudden change in your vision. All these can be symptoms of diabetes as such. Now, if we come to what is the treatment for type 2 diabetes, today morning itself, one patient asked me that, doctor, all these medicines will hurt my kidney and liver. I don't want to take medicines. We as practicing doctors, we minimize medicine. Our whole aim in diabetes is to have a healthy patient and a knowledgeable patient. Medicines will never hurt the patient, but importantly, the cornerstone of diabetes treatment is lifestyle. It's a lifestyle illness, it's a lifestyle problem. Across India, we have a complete change in lifestyle since the late 80s, where the whole burger, cocoa colonization that we have gone through has changed the patterns in India. A lot of us have replaced our dinners with snacks. You have idli dosa, you have vada pav, you have pav bhaji as main meals, and there's a complete lack of exercise. There's no relaxation time. There's no leisure exercises. It's a race against time. So the cornerstone of treatment of type 2 diabetes is diet and exercise. That is the first step. Unless you take the first step, the second step, that is tablets, will always fail. So it's very, very important for us to realize that unless you start yourself on the road to a good lifestyle, you will never achieve. Second important thing is that when a person is diagnosed new with diabetes, his first aim is to remove the tablets. So whenever he comes repeatedly for a follow-up, the only question is asking is that when will I stop the oral medicine, or when will I stop the insulin? It's very important to know that type 2 diabetes is a lifelong disorder. There is no reversal of diabetes, as can make some claims. Those are called remission. The term reversal of diabetes is a non-medical term. It's a marketing term. What we use is remission. Remission means that your diet and exercise and lifestyle is so perfect that you do not need tablets and insulin, which all of you all can attempt, but let the doctor decide that whether the tablets needs to come down or insulin needs to come down. Your target in diabetes is not to stop the medication. Your target is in diabetes is to live your life to the lifespan of a non-diabetic, to live your life without complications and not to enter hospitals. For that, a diabetic patient or a person with diabetes has to have regular follow-up, regular tests, and apart from just sugar, there are multiple other tests which needs to do so that you can actually identify complications very, very early. Heart disease, kidney disease, and eye disease and foot problems are the highest complications in India, followed by liver issues. So diabetes affects every organ. If you are scientifically advised by doctors, there needs to be a certain protocol in your evaluation, which is very, very important. It is not about what medications you do or whether we can reduce medicines or increase medicines. That is the lowest hanging fruit for doctors. Most important for doctors and people with diabetes to realize is they need to get evaluated completely. They need to get evaluated for their eyes. They need to get evaluated for the kidney. They need to get evaluated for the heart. They need to get evaluated for blood circulation into the feet. They need to get evaluated for the liver. So the ABCs of diabetes is A is A1C, which is the 3-month blood sugar less than 6.5. B is blood pressure, which is 130/80. C is LDL cholesterol, which is less than 70. Now, these three problems, along with smoking, contributes to 90% of non-communicable disorders globally. So whether you take diabetes, heart disease, cancer, the causes for this are these: diabetes, blood pressure, cholesterol, and smoking. So if we are able to take care of all these three, we can have patients living a good quality life and a longer, better life. So oral tablets are there. They do not cause any problems. They may have minor side effects. When they come out into the market, they have gone at least a 7 to 8 years of phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 studies. And the regulatory authorities, whether globally or in India, undertake a lot of studies before giving approval to any tablet or insulin. Again, as I said, that diabetes treatment is, again, you need to have a good healthy diet, which a nutritionist will help you. 150 minutes of exercise per week is what is recommended. Now, exercise also has to be tailor-made. Now, a person with foot problem cannot walk and jog. A person with a back problem cannot skip. A person with a frozen shoulder cannot swim. So everything has to be tailor made, and most importantly, exercise is something that the person should enjoy. It should never be a punishment to the person, because importantly, this needs to be carried out for the rest of your life. So it's important that people realize that leisure exercises, things which you like doing, is something that you need to keep doing. That's the only way you can continue it for the rest of your life. So what sort of food is good? Again, all these things that you can see, one needs to get a lot of raws back into our meals. So whether it's a salad, whether it's fruits, whether it's vegetables, whole grains, all these things traditionally that we used to eat is extremely important. We have been replaced by a Western meal, and that seems to be the crux of non-communicable diseases, whether it's heart disease or cancer or diabetes. The crux remains nutrition and exercise and lifestyle. Again, very important that we need to eat slowly, we need to eat regularly, we need to not overeat. Again, alcohol and tobacco are two issues with diabetes, because finally they also cause the same kind of complications which diabetes causes. So it's important that we take that also into account when we actually treat people with diabetes. Exercise, again, as I said, that it's very important that we discuss exercise, because it's the most cheapest thing is to go and walk, but it can be the most monotonous thing to do, and you may not enjoy it. You may actually like to do things which you did as a child. It could be tennis, racket sport, household work. You could also go up and down your building. You can jog, but it all depends on what you like to do. I have patients who play on the Xbox and get their workout done. I have patients who do Zumba. I have patients who do Bollywood dancing and they have their workout. So whatever sort of exercise you do, it's extremely important that you enjoy doing it. And it's not a punishment given by the doctor or anybody else. Very important that when you decide to exercise, you need to start slow. You need to then slightly go up, and then there has to be a phase down. Do not decide that my doctor told me for a walk, so from tomorrow I'm going to start a 1 hour walk. That's not going to be possible. You will end up with issues, whether it's a bone related issue or a heart related issue, we don't know. So again, go very, very slow and phase it up over a period of 4 to 6 weeks. Important to wear proper footwear, which is a problem in India. And this itself can be a huge topic to take for a few hours. And important is to wear footwear. I would just say that you should always buy footwear in the evening, because by then certain amount of swelling has developed. Two, you should always have footwears with a wider toe box. So if you're buying kids or running shoes, then it should be basketball shoes, because they are wider in the toe box area. And always wear shoes with a back strap, or sandals with a back strap, not slip-ons at all, because those are problematic for people with diabetes. Again, will I need tablets, or will I need insulin, or will I not need anything? So we have close to 5 to 7% of people with diabetes who can be controlled only on their diet and exercise. Medications, whether it's oral medications or insulin, is added on to the patient's lifestyle. So whether the person requires anything or not, the decision has to be taken by the healthcare professional and the doctor, and there should be a shared decision making with the person with diabetes. Otherwise, they don't remain compliant to what needs to be given. Again, how do tablets work? Some tablets again make more insulin in the body. Some tablets help in your insulin's action. Some tablets slow the digestion of food. Some tablets help your liver to work better. So all the tablets work in a different way. There are 8 defects in people with diabetes. We think it's only the pancreas, but 8 other defects are there. There are defects in the liver, there's defects in the kidney, which all come together for a person to develop diabetes. So today our approach is to have medications. which probably tackle majority of these defects, the underlying problems in diabetes, which can be a lot of fat around your waist, which could be excess fat deposition in your body. All those things need to be taken care of in people with diabetes. So in diabetes, there is a ongoing, I would say, debate that whether weight loss also should be incorporated as one form of treatment in people with diabetes. The weight loss in people with well-controlled diabetes will surely eventually help in their organs and in their life and in the quality of life. Again, insulin, a lot of people run away when insulin is spoken about. I would say that one should be wiser and use insulin earlier on when the doctor suggests it, rather than get into a complication and use insulin once you have a complication. Insulin cannot be given in a tablet form as it will be destroyed. We have once a week insulin, which should come into India probably next year. But right now, insulin is injectable. We have other forms of injectable therapy, which is there, which helps to ones to lose weight, which are called GLP-1 receptor analogs, and they actually help you lose 5 to 10% of weight. They are expensive, but they are there in injectable and oral forms. Secondly, will diabetes spread from me to my family? No, it's a non-communicable disorder. Your family will not get diabetes or your children just because they stay with you. But yes, if the lifestyle at home is wrong, then your children and everybody who stays there will get diabetes. We spoke about this, that will I get cured with a few days of diabetes? No. Please do not get into the hands of people who sell this dream or fantasy to our people with diabetes, especially type 1 diabetes. We have lost a few of patients, especially by some babas giving them some kind of things. And these can be a problem. This can be a problem. So diabetes can never be cured. A literate India will make India a healthy India. And this is very, very important for us to know that reversal of diabetes is a marketing word. Remission of diabetes is the right word. There is no cure for diabetes. Similarly, there's no cure for advancing age. If today you are 60, tomorrow you will be 61. You cannot be 59. So similarly, there is no cure for diabetes. Can I prevent diabetes? Yes. You can prevent diabetes. As I said, right, if it's a primordial prevention where we want to prevent the population, to start with good nutrition of the mother when she's pregnant. Two, inculcating the right habits in children where they know what is the right food and wrong food. Exercise as a part of a regimen in schools, colleges, everywhere. Regular health checkups from a very, very young age groups, and a cultural change across India where people believe that you should exercise only when you have a problem and you should not exercise when you don't have a problem. But I think we should exercise to prevent a problem, and that's a cultural change that we need to make across India, I would suggest. So there's a lot of change we need to make. Again, during treatment, sometimes patients can have low blood sugar levels, and I would suggest that you need to eat something and then go back and meet your doctor. Sometimes it can happen, and nowadays we have a lot of drugs which does not cause low sugar, and we can use a lot of them without this problem of low blood glucose. I'm not getting into low blood glucose as such, but hypoglycemia, as it is called, can occur with people with diabetes, and we can switch over to drugs which do not cause hypoglycemia. And we should try to prevent low sugars because it is the rate limiting step in patients achieving a good control, and also doctors chasing a good control in people with both type 1 and type 2 diabetes as such. Diet, as I said, that you have to make sure that's tailor-made for you. Timings are important. In short, a lot of raw. Early dinners is important. Importantly is not to skip meals, and again, don't overeat. So these are very simple forms. Do not replace a meal with a snack. Eat at regular timings. Eat your dinners early. Exercise daily. and you will see that you do not get diabetes. And even if you have, it can prevent complications of diabetes. Again, these are generic advices rather than specifics. I would say that a diet plan should always be sat with the nutritionist, because all of us eat dal, vegetables, roti and rice, and salads and curds. But the way it is made in each house is different. The roti made in your house could be 100 calories, and in my house could be 200 calories. The same sabji in your house could be one serving, maybe 300 calories, and my serving could be 600 calories. So the way food is made needs to be sat with the nutritionist and made a proper nutrition plan based on what is available at home. Again, few things that can I drive a car? Newly diagnosed people with diabetes who have a lot of fluctuating control, we tell them not to drive a car. People with insensitive foot problems, we tell them not to drive a car. Um, again, when you travel, or it's important that you consult your doctor, especially if you're traveling and jumping time zones. You may have to change your medications. Again, if you're carrying insulin, there are specific insulin pouches you can carry. Doctor's written prescription is a must for many insulin and oral tablets. A lot of immigration authorities may not let you in. So it's important that when you're traveling out, you should have spare medication, spare insulin. You may require an identification card if you're traveling alone. Health insurance, again, never lie to your insurance. Travel insurance, which covers diabetes. Legibly written or printed prescription. Letter from doctor verifying that you need these medications and you're not carrying it for somebody else. Food supplies, because usually the flights are at night and you may put a lot of activity in the night, which can make your sugar go down. Again, certain generic things that eat healthy, do not smoke, keep fit, watch your weight, check your feet, wear comfortable shoes. Again, carry a diabetic identification card. I think I have exceeded my time limit and I've come to the end of my slides. I would hand it back to Dr. Shah and Dr. Kaur. I'm sorry for exceeding by, I think, 7 minutes. And I'm open to any kind of questions which anybody may have to ask.
Dr. Kovil, I'm overwhelmed.
What
a treasury of information. All that glitters is not gold, and all that is tasty is not healthy, is what we learned. But more than anything, maternal nutrition will prevent early diabetes was, I'm sure, a new learning for many of us. Another thing that we have learned is that even if you are asymptomatic, just because you do not have any symptoms doesn't mean that you should not get yourself tested. So even though you are asymptomatic, the test should begin. And no cure, there is no cure for diabetes, and it is better to accept what you cannot change. So, we should accept. I mean, if we need to hear you more often to really imbibe everything. Thank you, Dr. Kovil, for a very useful, informative, and empowering talk. We will come back to you for interaction with our August gathering a little later after the Dr. Amishwara has talked, so that both of you can answer the questions that are put to both of you. Thank you. And now, friends, it is time for the second speaker, Dr. Amishwara. He is in USA and will address us from there. Whenever we see a chubby child, our natural reaction is, how cute. Dr. Amishwara will talk on childhood obesity and its relation to diabetes. And Dr. Sonal Raje will introduce Dr. Amishwara. Sonal.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pallavi. Thank you, Mona, for unmuting me. So, Dr. Amishwara, it's a great pleasure for me to introduce our second guest speaker for today. That's Dr. Amishwara. And the topic is obesity in children. This is a very critical subject of concern for many parents in today's era. Dr. Amishwara is a hands-on intensivist. He has wide experience in pediatric neonatal intensive care. He is also an ECMO specialist for newborns and adults. He is a visiting consultant with Bhatia, Saifi, Masina, Prince Ali Khan, St. Elizabeth Hospital, and has an established private practice too. Dr. Vora has a vast experience of almost 30 years across countries like UK, Australia, and of course, India. He completed his MBBS from Grant Medical College in 1989 and MD batch 1995 from GS Medical College. Since then, his journey of healing has started. He is the Secretary of Mumbai Critical Care and Board of Member in Neonatal Forum of Mumbai. Has fellowship in NICU and PICU from Westmead Children's Hospital, Sydney, including flying doctor service for a year. Senior fellowship in cardiac ICU and ECMO. He's the principal investigator for randomized controlled trials in persistent pulmonary hypertension of the newborn and for multi-central sleep trials. He believes in sharing his knowledge and experience by being associated with educational institutes too. And he's the examiner for MBBS at University of Leicester, UK, educational and clinical supervisor for membership of the Royal College of Pediatrics and Child Health at University of Leicester. He has several publications and presentations to his name and is an author to many textbooks, articles in international journals. So let's hear it from Dr. Amishwara. Over to you, Doctor.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that introduction, Sonal. And I'm going to start sharing my screen. Okay, is my screen visible?
Yes, doctor. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So first of all, let me start with thanking all the president and the past president and all of you for inviting me. Especially thank you, Mrs. Meeta Shah, Dr. Pallavi Shah, and Sonal Rage for the introduction. And thank you for all the other dignitaries which are present, and really appreciate and giving this talk, which I'm really interested in. So it's a very well-planned session to Dr. Pallavi Shah, because it goes hand in hand what the previous topic was all about. It's all about, the diet and exercise. So we are going to talk about childhood obesity. Is it really cute? And we always want to see a child as we see in the picture over there. So what I'm going to try and cover in this topic is what is obesity? How big is the problem? What are the causes? A little bit of effect of it, and really what we can do about it. So we all know what, if we see something like this, what is obesity? But is that what we want to see? No. We want to pick up obesity by measuring the body mass index. Body mass index is weight upon square root of height. You don't need to know that. You just need to put it on any app. Just Google body mass index, put your height, put your weight, it tells you your body mass index. So any child whose body mass index is more than 85th percentile is overweight. And any child above 95th percentile or about 30 kg per meter square of BMI are obese. And if they cross 99th percentile, they are morbidly obese. This is a standardized obesity criteria made by American Association of Pediatrics in 2007, accepted by European pediatricians in 2008. How big is this problem? The problem of obesity in pediatrics has really become big. Nearly 40 million children under 5 and equally 40 million above 6 to teenagers are obese. In India, we have 15 million. So more nearly one third to half of the patients who are obese are in India. We are second only to China, and it's predicted by 2030 will overtake China in obesity. Already the surveys in urban India is not good. The survey in China is that one third of the children are either obese. As I published and I given in my interview in Midday last year, where we have showed that after the COVID lockdown, after the pandemic, 40% of the children have gained weight significantly. So From a pandemic of COVID, we're coming an epidemic of obesity in children, especially in urban India. And it's very clear. There's a classical understanding. It's a little bit late, about 2000, but it shows that since 1960, there's a 4-time increase in obesity in children. From 4%, we have gone to crossing to about 6% across all the age group and all the gender. So obesity is becoming 4 times and it's really becoming an issue. Why are we seeing it? Obesity is basically, as we heard before, is calorie in, calorie out. Okay, if the balance is not maintained, you will get obese. So how much you eat, you should be burning out, and you should not be eating more than what you can burn out to make sure that your balance of your fat, your carbohydrates, your proteins, all are kept intact. And especially this is all is also centrally connected. So what are the other causes? Too much of wrong kind of food and the drink is a main culprit in last 20 decades. So in 1970s, we started seeing supersize, okay, where they started including big size Coke bottles, 2 liters Coke bottle. In 80s came the ready meal. In 90s came the fast food, 200 so takeaway, and last 10 decades we are seeing home deliveries. And this all has been the root cause of obesity coming in. Soft drink in UK is a big market and they target children's. Food, drinks and advertising in UK is also a big market. At the same time, mothers are working, mothers are stressed out, so less breastfeeding, more use of formula milk and ready-made weaning food, which are all preservative based with salt and sugar, causing more harm. Kids, sedentary lifestyle, are not playing. We all know that how we used to play, our kids are not playing. And obviously, all of them are spending more time on screen, including ourselves. And this all are the main root causes of obesity. Okay, this all causes are much more than the medical causes of obesity, which are less than 10%. 90% of obesity is because of overeating and less exercise. As we see, the portion size in 1960 to 2011 has nearly doubled. And law and order, you can see the portion size between USA and Australia. The law in Australia is very strict, so the portion size is nearly half. While in USA, we have portion size which are nearly double. And we can see the culprit, what's happening. All the fried food, salted food, and sugary food. Sedentary lifestyle, lots of time on the video games, and it starts very early. And it also what we do that the child learns. So there's a dramatic change in last few decades. Previously, people used to walk or take a cycle to school that was nearby. Slowly, they started driving to school, and nowadays it's buses which takes them. And most of the children now use escalators or elevators. Many says indoor after school because parents are working, so after school they are busy or playing on the video games or watching television. Introduction of video games and computers have driven children away from sports. Physical education in the school itself has decreased, and aggressive marketing of fast food, junk, video games, and has been shown by evidence that even an advertisement of less than 30 seconds is enough to influence a child. So what does this have? If the child is obese, what happens to the child? It's a physical, social, and emotional consequences. Physically, as we heard before, it's glucose intolerance and insulin. Type 2 diabetes is really increasing in children, especially more than 6 years of age, and in teenagers, there's a 3-fold increase in type 2 diabetes we see in children. Similarly, we see them having hypertension, menstrual irregulation, polycystic ovarian syndrome. All of us know about this, all of us have children, and all know somebody who has PCOD. It was PCOD, now it's changing out to PCOS, but it's a very common thing which we see in young females, and it's rampantly increasing. Every week, I see 2 or 3 new females getting this disease. You have liver disorders, you have sleep apnea, you have asthma, and you have problems with your hip joint and your knee joint. Emotionally, it's very depressing. They have a negative image of themselves. They have low self-esteem, and it becomes a circle. You know, they are obese, they go depressed, or they have low self-esteem. They eat more, they exercise less. So obviously there's a social health issue, there's a stigma, there's a bullying and school teasing in the school. And in social life, they're marginalized. We know that most of the obese kids don't get socially called for functions or parties, and this leads to further problem with emotional and food habits. So what can we do, or what should we do? I think it's more about what should we do. So this is a whole picture frame which is very common for obesity of what one should be doing as social norms and values, of what we should be doing as social norms and values. We should be agreeing that, a big child or is not a healthy child. What the law and order can do, what the food, agricultural, educational ministers, transport ministers and all can do. But more important is the red one. What at home, school, community, what we can do ourselves, what we can do about our food, what about the physical activity. And that's the most important thing that I'm going to concentrate about, what we can do instead of asking what everyone else can do. Okay, so what are these players involved in this changing this process? It's obviously the schools and teachers locally, it's our parents and the whole family as a union, and doctors and hospital. The last part is a little bit less important. I think more important is for the schools and the parents. So in the school, it's very important to start healthy lunch program with zero tolerance of junk food policy in place. The school should make this that there should be zero tolerance of junk food. There should be emphasis on family participating, educating, and regularly doing a follow-up and check-up. The teachers should play a major role in educating the children and parents of zero tolerance of junk food. The family should make sure that we can play its role in implementing those new changes. The school should make sure that there's increased play activity in young age. There's increased play area. There's a field or a garden where the kids can play. As we can see in urban India, the schools are becoming more of a building than in the olden times where we used to have a ground and we should play and everything was part of school activities. So what does zero tolerance of junk food policy means? Okay. So as I said in my interview this year in Femina, where we said that zero food tolerance for the school should be no packet foods. No kids should be allowed any packaged foods. No wafers, no chocolates, no morning made Maggie, no ready to eat meal. It should be whole based community food. School lunch menu, if made by school, should be reviewed by a clinician dietitian to make sure it's a balanced diet. And especially in the school and birthdays, especially in junior school, it's important that we make it as a rule that we give no fruits or cakes. We give no sweets or cakes. It should be based on fruits, dry fruits, and raisins, making them empower that having a fruit itself is a celebration. Where does this come that, giving sweets is a way to celebrate in birthdays? The kids don't know. 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, kids don't know that, giving sweets is important. If you say that, oh, it's your birthday, please give fruits to everyone. All of them will accept, yes, fruit is a good way to celebrate birthdays. Give raisins, give some dry fruits. Make that as a happy occasion, that make it linked. Instead of sweets and cakes with your happy occasion, link fruits and dry fruits with your happy occasions, thereby empowering at an early age what it means. Parents, it's very important that we encourage children to take fruits, dry fruits, and home-cooked snacks. Even the traditional meal of chapati or paratha with vegetable stuff or your khakras and theplas and everything is much better than giving them any of the packaged foods. At home, when you have parties, below 6 years birthday parties, encourage fruits and dry fruits. Avoid fruit cakes and things. A fruit cake is much better than trying to have a chocolate cake. And the kids, if every parent start doing it in our own community, starting with oneself, then the whole community plus starts. And I'm not saying it's difficult. Like when in UK, when we were there for 15 years, it was clear that for under fourth grade, nobody can get fruits or chocolates. And it's practiced as a whole nation. And they're trying to really tackle and hoping to see a change in 10 to 20 years. And it stays start at the basic age group. Get the parents' healthy weight concept done. Okay, by emphasizing on increasing physical activity and eating the right type of food. We do not want them to restrict food, but make sure they eat the right type of the food. It should never be a stigma in case they are overweight. It should never be a stigma. We need to accept what they are and see how we can get better. Children are often encouraged to make a healthy choices from birth with parents serving as a role model. So it starts with us, and then we can talk about our kids. Food should never be a reward or restriction for punishment. Okay, if you do this well, I'll give you a chocolate. If you take your vaccine properly, I'll give you an ice cream. You know, that's a common thing we see. Why then? Take your vaccine properly, I'll give you an orange. Take your vaccine properly, I'll give you an apple. When you hear it, everybody says, what is doctor saying? But I'm saying this now is weird because you're not used to it. 40 years back, no parents knew that if you take your vaccine, you'll get sweet. Okay? When we took our vaccines, we never got sweet after ice cream after that. It's changed in 40 years. If we start changing it now, in 30 to 40 years, it will change. Children should never be force-fed. If children are not hungry, please do not force-feed them. Increase physical activity. Children should encourage to play right from the young age. And this play activity, we are used to doing it for kids when they're small. We take them to garden, we take them to park when they're 2 years, 4 years. After they get to 6 years of middle school, we just forget about that and let them do what they want. We should continue doing that. Activities that can be done as a family serves not as a facility to bonding as a family unit, but improves the health of all the family. So what are the family activities one should talk about? You know, we have a lot of hikes and picnics, which was going on open, and a lot of places in monsoon, we should go for those hikes. Later on, we should take the kids to the local park and playground with equipments. Go for bigger kids, we can take them for a bike ride. A lot of kids play football, cricket, and do dance. Make sure they start at early age, and we continue encouraging them and taking them for that. Playing skipping rope and hula, it's a good home event. When it's monsoon, it's a good thing for kids to do that. As a family, become a gym member, start swimming, start skating, go for dance and clap and singing with children from young age. Enroll your children in activities such as dance and gymnastics from young age. Parents can be role model in engaging in physical activities themselves. So, you know, play hula hoops with your kids. See how you do them. They will enjoy. And make sure they get into physical activity. Fruit picking. Fruit picking is another very good family activity where, you know, when we go to abroad, when you go to UK, or we go for strawberry picking, but how many of us go to, in India in summer, go and pick up, do mango picking or grapes picking? It's an excellent activity. It's just, you know, out of 40 kilometers out of Bombay, and you can get good places to go and pick up fruit picking. Other suggestion is limit television and mobile viewing. You all know that, but that has to start young. Encourage love of books from a young age, and make sure you do a family trip to public library. I'll ask you, 80% of you will not know which are the good big public library in your own city. And it's very important. I'm not going to pick up and ask you what are public libraries, but, you know, find it, take your kids over there. When they see others reading, they read about discipline, sit there, make them sit. When they see others reading, that encourages them to start reading. Promoting healthy eating for life for children. It's emphasized that children start learning to eat early age, what they should be eating, and not restricting on what they should be not eating. Developmental consideration. Kids keep on growing. As a pediatrician, unlike adults, different age group has different behavior. A newborn is different than an infant. An infant less than 2 years is different than a child between 2 to 12 years. A teenager is between 12 to 18 is different than all of them. And all of them are different than an adult. So each development age group has a different things for the food, the exercise, and what we should be doing. And that's very important to keep in mind. The most important thing to keep in mind is a lot of parents come with, they say, my child is not eating between 2 to 4 years of age. This is an age group where they are an explorer. They've started to run and walk. And that's why we call it as a physiological anemia. Okay, they have decreased appetite. They just want to run and be free. And they just found their independence. They just found their autonomy, and they want to just explore. Let them explore. Let them eat. Okay, at this age group, even the weight and everything reduction has to come down. They are now going to develop. They're supposed to lose their baby fat between 2 to 4 years. Let them get rid of it. Okay, let them be autonomous, and do not shame them into eating more. Characteristic of this stage of trying autonomy, of being their freedom, is more important than trying to implement strict eating habits. temper tantrum happens. If they don't want it, don't give it. And if they're asking for unrealistic thing, it's where you are the parents, and you have to make sure that you do not give in easily. Okay, if you give in once, it becomes a habit. Once or twice, it's difficult, but over the time, it will get better. So what is a feeding toddlers history? So allow the child to prepare the food. You know, nowadays in urban India, it's become Ramu Khana Lao. That's not important. Tell the children, help them in setting up the table. Once they are a little bit bigger, help them to make the food. Make sure that they know what they're going on. Even at a young age group, as I said, they want the independence, they want freedom. Give them a choice of what they want to eat. Like, give them a choice between what do you want. So you want them to eat fruit, ask them, do you want apple slice or banana slice? So whatever he chooses, he feels he's made the choice, but you've given him what he or she should be eating. Make the portion size small. People want them to eat a whole apple. It's not possible. Okay, for kids, the smaller the portion size. What we say is for vegetables, if you want them, it's 1 tablespoon for each age. Okay, so 2-year-old will have only 2 tablespoons of vegetables. Having large portions can be overwhelming. Okay, so if they have too much in their plates, they will get confused and they'll be stressed out how they're going to eat all that. And as we say, khana chodo mat plate pe. So, you know, then that becomes a force feeding. That it becomes a habit to empty out the plate. And that's they're eating more than what they want. If they're full, they should be taught in early, if you're full, your stomach is not your dustbin. Please stop eating. Make the food look appealing. Okay, put some smiley face from the peas, make beans on top of your mashed potatoes, make it good fun so they feel like eating. Set the discipline. It's not that whenever they're hungry, make a regular time, but do not force it. Get that balance right. This is a timing to eat and this is the time to enjoy. And remember, if they're not hungry, let them skip it. Doctors. Each doctors have a role. And that's why as we see the vaccine schedules are very clear in first 2 years or 2 years. So we have to make sure the child is growing developmentally normal. Okay, the growth is good. Previously in early part of my career, it was all about making sure the child's healthy and growing fine. You know, they're putting on properly. Now, in last 20 years, my practice is mostly making sure we do not overdo it. Okay, so we need to do a 3-monthly checkup for the first year, 6-monthly checkup for the second year. First 2 years, it happens very regularly because that's when the vaccines are due. Okay, but after that, it becomes very erratic because the vaccines are due every 3 to 5 years. But it's very important that you keep on doing a yearly checkup. It's like, you know, how you do your car service, how you as an adult should be doing your health checkup every year. Same way kids need to be going and seeing your doctor daily to be preventive medicine rather than rescue medicine. And it's especially important between 6 to 12 years. We give 5 years vaccine and then comes a 10 years vaccine. Between 6 to 12 years, they're gone. And that's when the whole obesity gets out of the way. So we want to do 6 to 12 years, not to get prescription, not to get anything, but to say, hi, doctor, let the doctor know, let the doctor say, and have a look and see what's going on. We pick up the issues with BMI, the diabetes, the obesity, all of them much early than what we see them. And remember, it takes a year or 2 years to pick up, and it'll take a longer to accept. As the last doctor said, it's denial of the issue, which is a problem. And what do? A lot of patients come when they're too late and they're already obese, but we have to treat them, we have to see them, we take a detailed history, we make sure about their physical activity, what they are doing, we see if they have any morbidity associated with obesity and look for it. If they have any signs of eye changes, any signs of precocious puberty or early puberty which is going on, or we can see the type 2 diabetes signs on the neck, or they start having knee problem and hip problem at an early age. Okay, and that's what we have to see when they come. There are lots of other causes, pathological medical causes, which we need to rule out, but they are rare. As I said, they're less than 10%, but they can come and that's seen. But we see them. If you come between 6 to 12 years, we pick them up early and then we can decide about them. There are rarely some medication which a lot of kids have to take. We make sure that those medications are not a cause, but that causes, as we say, is less than 1%. When the child is obese, based on the obesity and the risk factors, we have to decide about what medications and what treatment and what investigations we need to do. So that only an overweight with risk factors, an overweight with obese with high risk factors, we need to investigate. Important are the risk factors, which is family history of obesity, elevated blood pressure, lipids, and tobacco and alcohol use. Let's not be blinded and and think that our teenagers, our kids in India do not have tobacco and alcohol use. That's being kiddish. We all have been teenagers at 16 to 18, and we know what 16 to 18-year kids do. If they have an issue, let's not bury our face in the sand. Let's tackle it and make sure that it's under control. So what are the stages? Okay, there are a lot of stages of treatment. Please do not read the whole thing. The important thing is that there's stages. What we can do is for prevention when we do regular meetings. If needed, for those who are in obese category, we can do prevention plus planning. Those who are a little bit higher and already obese, we can do structural weight management. For those who are even more obese, reaching over 99 percentile, we can do comprehensive multidisciplinary management or tertiary care investigations and meal replacement, pharmacotherapy, and needed rarely surgery. So there are lots of things we can do once the child is obese. Okay, but the most important thing is what I really like to tell the parents, it takes me a year or 2 years, is to understand these 3 stages. The 3 stages, one is by Lewin's and what is a force theory. They are very simple. It's all similar. The 3 stages of Lewin's senses, it's in 1970, Kurt Lewin described the stages. Unfreezing means wake up. Accept there's a problem of obesity. Accept there's a problem of overweight. Okay, let's tackle it. Let's accept it. Let's not be in denial. And second phase starts, let's start changing it. Let's change everything, get good habits, good diet, good exercise. And once we have a good habit, refreeze it. So refreeze into good diet, good exercise, and make that part of your life. These are the 3 simple principles which we should be following. Similarly, it can be the force theory, which is driving force. Okay, we have a child who's obese, or we have a family overweight issues. Let's drive and make sure our family is good. Make sure that our kids are getting better. Restraining force is denial. Okay, we are in denial that it's not happening. And let's get into an equilibrium force, which is balancing what we eat, what we do, how we live. So this all 3 are fundamental that makes all the steps very easy, and it works. And it's a very simple principle. When I talk about it, when the parents hear it, it's very easy. It looks very simple. But believe me, to unfreeze or driving force on parents who are overweight takes a year to 2 years. And yet we have seen 10% of those kids becoming obese and having issues with obesity. Sleep apneas, asthma, pains, and this happens. And it's not easy to unfreeze ourselves and to accept change. And all of you know what I'm saying. 80% of what talks what we are saying here, all of you know, but it's the importance of we should be doing it. So usually it's a doctor's plan. You go to dietitian, make sure you have diet, you make sure you have an exercise, and rarely if needed, we need to get a family psychiatric help. For people in so much denial that sometimes we need to get all 3 involved to make a group education of the family and the child. And individually as a doctor, we do sessions with the children themselves without the parents, and sometimes only with parents without the child, to understand where we are going and help you combine with all of them. The basic principle, the age-old basic principle was B1235A. Okay. The important old one was breakfast every day. Nowadays, most of the kids have a glass of milk and run to school. That's not proper. 15 to 20 minutes in the morning should be your breakfast time. 10 minutes after your breakfast, you should be relaxed and not be running. So you need to have the 30 minutes in the morning or 20 minutes in the morning to make sure the child has breakfast properly. 5 servings of fruits and veggies. We all know it. It's very important. to make sure we do it. 3 structured meals day, less than 2 hours of TV or video time, more than 1 hour of moderate activity, and almost no high sugar and beverage. So this was a age old which was there for last 20 years. We have modified it, and as we said, in the new modification is 0, 1, 2, 5, 8, and 10. Okay, as we said in our interview this year in Femina is 0 means no sugar, fried or packaged foods. 1 hour of daily moderate exercise. 1 hour of moderate exercise we mean is that you exercise and your playtime is on top. 3 to 4 hours of playtime, 1 hour of moderate exercise. How many kids can have 4 hours of exercise daily with today's schedule of classes, school, and other activities? Okay, but it's very important that they get at least 1 hour of moderate exercise and 2 to 3 hours of playtime. 2 hours of glass of milk. If they have milk allergy, we can tackle that and give them something. 5 fruits and vegetables a day is a must. People say 5 fruits and veggies a day. It's very simple. Between breakfast and lunch, give them 1 fruit. In lunch, they should have 2 vegetables. Have a soup or salad and 1 portion of vegetable. Between your lunch and dinner, give them 1 fruit. And your dinner, give them 1 vegetables. That tackles your 5 fruits and vegetables. It's a very simple thing to make sure they have fruits in the pre-lunch and in the evening snack. Have your vegetables during your meal and make sure it's always there. 8 glasses, 5 to 8 glasses of water is very important based on age. Make sure they get it. 10 hours of sleep. The root cause of obesity is that people are not sleeping enough and it's very erratic. Okay, sleeping time should be very structured and scheduled. The childs grow and recover and lose the unwanted things in their sleep. And that happens between 12 and 4, in your deep sleep between midnight and 4 o'clock. So you should be in bed 2 hours before, and you should be getting out of the bed 1 to 2 hours after that. Okay, so ideally they should be sleeping from before 10 o'clock and getting up after 6 o'clock. And that's what it is very important that as a child, we engrave them. The age-old habit of eating early, going to sleep early, making sure children are asleep by 8:39 has gone out of the woods. We need to make sure we get them. Stop the TV, stop in the school day week. They should not be having any gadgets, anything after 7:30. After dinner, no gadgets, no computer, no screen. Read something to them, listen to music for half an hour, 1 hour, and make sure then later on they go to sleep. It's very important that if they sleep better, the whole cycle can get better. There are medications available for pharmacotherapy, but it's more for us. And just so it's rarely used. I've rarely prescribed them. I've just done in 2 kids in the last 30 years, so don't worry about them. But the important is balanced diet. All of us know this diet circle about what we should be eating, about carbohydrates, 70%, fruits and pulses, protein about 20%, fat very low, about 10%. But important thing is this diet. When we say carbohydrate should be 70%, of which fruits and vegetables should be 40%. And your cereals and your grains and your rice should be 25%. And we know that we do it vice versa. Okay, we have more of this and less of this. That needs to be changed. You need to have more of this and less of this. The protein should be about 25%. So make sure in our diet, when we're having our lunch and dinner, especially for vegetarians, make sure you have 25. So one fourth of your meal should be about proteins, about your lentils, about your curd. So make sure if you're having enough lentils, enough curd, then it's good. And your fat should only be 10%. So decrease your millets, decrease your grains, okay? Increase your fruit and vegetables. Have more of salad, have more of vegetables and less of chapati and rice. So important they have their fruits, they enjoy eating their fruits. 5 times fruits and vegetables. Decrease on your bread and cereals, okay? More of a milk and protein-based diet and yogurt, and have your lean meal and at least once a week or twice a week, as the kids can have it, or have fish and not less of red meat for those who eat it. And your peanut butter, your fat, and all should be a less proportion as per the picture compared to your male meal. So final thoughts, childhood obesity is reached an epidemic proportion. Pediatric metabolic syndrome or obesity with medical condition is a fact which is happening. Mainstay of treatment is diet and exercise and counseling. And counseling, I do not mean go to counselor, but counseling, I mean it starts in early childhood, begins with a caregiver, which is either your family doctor or your pediatricians or the family member themselves. Make sure referral for weight management program for all the kids after 6 years to prevent and for prevention plus program for obesity treatment. 95 percentile with comorbidity is a fact which is happening, and above 99 percentile is very morbidly obese. Please, and if you do not want to go to your doctor, every yearly put your kids' height and weight on a BMI app or on a BMI calculator online and make sure you do it. I tell all the parents on your kid's birthday, when you celebrate, please also the next day or the day before, do this and make sure their child is healthy, wealthy. Okay, thank you. Any questions? I'll take it afterwards. If anything, you can always email me and I can get back to you with them. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Vora. Am I audible? Thank you, Dr. Vora.
Thank you.
So many times when we see undernourished children in magazines and newspapers, many times they are Indians. So it is now very difficult to believe or imbibe that 50% are obese. Maybe this is an urban data. Sir, you have raised an alert. Good advice for young mothers. We have to accept the fact that our child is obese. So many times it's the mother who does not like to accept the fact that her child is not medically normal. So unfreezing and refreezing was an excellent advice. Thank you, Dr. Vora, for such a informative talk. Friends, we have received some questions on the chat. So that interactive session is very interesting, but since we have run out of time, run beyond time, what we want to do.
When you are muted, please unmute yourself.
Why was I suddenly muted? Anyway, what we plan to do is finish all our formalities and then take interactive session after that. I hope all of you will wait, because interactive sessions, your questions will be answered and it will be interesting. So now before we have Secretary's announcement, may I request Dr. Surjit Kaur to give her her advice to us.
Thank you, Dr. Pallavi. Thank you, Meeta and Dr. Pallavi. I knew the seminar would be good, but this good, I'm so happy. Dr. Pallavi, you indeed found gems in the field to address us. I'm really happy that it was so much put into in such a short time. What I would say that they conveyed everything in such a simple manner for all to understand, because majority of us are laymen, and they made it so simple and all the facts were there. It was indeed an academic feast. Thank you, Dr. Rajiv and Dr. Amish, for giving us lots of messages to carry home. I think all of us were glued to our chairs, because nobody can say that medical information is boring. Coming from these two, it was really, really very, very interesting. And thank you, dear members, for your very healthy response to the seminar. We are really encouraged and we would love to take them up again in the near future. Isn't it so, Dr. Pallavi and Meeta? I
Yes.
think it is very encouraging, the response.
Yes, of course, we will.
Yeah. And thank you.
In fact, I'm going to inform them about the next seminar towards the end of this seminar.
Right away. No delay in that. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Surjit ji. And now we have Secretary's announcements by Priyana Raichur. Priyana?
Yeah. Good evening. We were 500 members on Zoom today and 180 on YouTube, a total of 680. Thank you.
Wow. Wow, that's
a very
nice.
Good attendance, yes.
Yes. And now, friends, the doctors have enlightened us. They have shared their knowledge. In Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, it is mentioned that an offering of knowledge is yajna of a very high order. So to show our gratitude, we have District Vice Chairman Pallavi Choksi. Pallavi will give us vote of thanks.
Good evening, friends. It is my proud privilege to propose the vote of thanks on behalf of District Chairman Meeta Sheth and Project Chairman Dr. Pallavi Shah and Innerville District 314. Health is wealth, and being healthy is a choice. Living a healthy lifestyle with good nutrition and exercise can help prevent chronic diseases like diabetes and obesity. So we have received and we have enriched ourselves with a lot of knowledge by these two eminent doctors who have given us their valuable time and given us so much to take home. Thank you and our heartfelt gratitude to our association president, Dr. Surjit Kaur, for her full support and always helping us out to hold this seminar. Thank you so much, Surjit ji. Thank you, Dr. Kovil, for your very, very practical approach to how to handle diabetes. It's really going to be very helpful to us. We are going to present him with a token of appreciation on behalf of Innerville District 314. Our club president of Innerville Club of Mumbai Paleshwar and the secretary are presenting him with a bouquet of flowers at his office. Now, thank you so much, Dr. Amrish Vora, for your talk on obesity in children. It's really going to be very helpful, and it was quite new to us that we have to take care from the time the mother is pregnant so that the child does not turn obese and diabetic. Thank you so much. Now, Doctor, we are going to present you with a token of appreciation given by DC Meeta Sheth's niece in the US.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Amrish.
Thank you. Thank you, Association Executive Committee, for your gracious presence. Thank you, District Chairman Meeta, for initiating this seminar at the national level. Thank you, Project Chairman, past International Innerville President, Dr. Pallavi Shah, for her vision and guidance to present a seamless seminar. Thank you, project coordinators, Dr. Yogini Sheth and Dr. Sonal Raje, for coordinating with all clubs and members to get such a big audience. Thank you so much. Thank you, District Executive Committee, for your presence and your full support. Thank you, past President Kini Kaul, for all her videos and her digital assistance. All past leaders of International Innerville, past association presidents, past district chairmen, for joining from all over. District ISO Mona Gyani for hosting the Zoom meeting. Mr. Atul Joshi for the Zoom link and the technical support. Thank you so much, all club presidents, all club members, and really good of you to come and attend this seminar. We are really we are taking back lots of good information for our family and friends. Thank you so much and looking forward to more and more seminars like this. Thank you.
Friends, hello?
Yeah,
hello.
We can hear you.
We can hear, okay. So the next seminar will be held on 29th of September and the subject will be cardiology. We will talk on heart attack, difference between heart attack and so anyway, we will talk on cardiology and on hypertension, another major, in fact, the first silent killer disease. So see you on 29th of September, but now we keep the interactive session on. Are Dr. Kovil and Dr. Amrish there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, I'm there.
Okay. Dr. Kovil, there are many questions you have answered, but still I think that everyone wants some confirmations. The first was that I have no symptoms, so why should I undergo tests and why should I take tablets was the question.
So I think this seminar is exactly for that purpose, because unless we screen, so there's a difference, communicable diseases like a pneumonia, a gastroenteritis would have symptoms and you approach the doctor for symptoms. Non-communicable diseases, you need to screen, and globally they have come up with screening guidelines. And what we have seen is that we have premature diabetes, we have premature obesity, we have premature heart disease, and we have premature cancer. So our population needs to screen. Majority of our people with all these problems are without symptoms. And once we have reached, an annual screening will help us in identifying these problems, because or you will realize with a complication. As I said, that a lot of our people with type 2 diabetes, when they are diagnosed, 30% are there with complications. It's because they haven't screened them earlier. They came with a problem. So they came with a bad infection and you realize there is diabetes.
So will it help, Dr. Kovil? There are 3 questions asking about early symptoms of kidney involvement, nerve involvement, and how about retinal checkup, how frequently it should be done. So,
Yes.
Once we say that if they have to be, they have to go to the doctor, then what are the early symptoms of all these complications?
So again, all these complications by itself do not have symptoms. That's again the reason that as we screen for diabetes, we need to screen for complications also. So for the kidney, it's a simple urine test. For the eye is a fundal examination. You can do it with a handheld fundoscope, or nowadays we have fundal cameras as well in most of retinal places, most ophthalms. Some diabetes clinics and centers have got a fundoscope and a fundal camera. So these screenings are done annually. Screening for complications are also done annually, so that these things, even a retinal problem, will not give you a symptom unless it affects the center of vision, which we call as the macula. So you could have peripheral problems on the retina, and it could go asymptomatic for a few years before it becomes. So annual screening for complication is a must for people with diabetes. And diabetes treatment is not getting sugar down. Diabetes treatment is screening for complications and preventing complications. It's not a glucose-centric blood sugar problem. So if your sugar is down, doesn't mean you will not get a complication. You have to screen for complication. That's important.
That was an important statement that, yes, we have to screen for the complications and we may not know that. That's. So the other common questions are about diet. So the first question of them is role of sugar-free packets like the stevia and other these things. So what?
So sugar-free should be used only to sweeten your tea, coffee, milk. That's it. You cannot make products out of it, because products, once you make out of sugar-free, it's only free of calories which comes from carbohydrates. You will still have the calories coming from fat. So if you have a sugar-free Kaju Katli, with sugar it will be 200 calories, and without sugar it will still be 150 to 160 calories. So sugar-free doesn't mean anything. It's still rich in fat, still rich in trans fats, and so many other things.
The other question important is that people feel that vegan diet will help the pre-diabetics and the diabetics. What is your opinion?
So I would say the jury is not out on it. A lot of our patients have got better using a vegan diet, but till date we do not have large trials to suggest that vegan diet could prevent diabetes or could also go into a remission with diabetes. But a lot of our patients have tried vegan diet. They have been able to lose weight. So whether it is the weight loss which has helped them with their blood sugar, or whether it is the veganism in the diet, it's still the jury is not out. But I would say that there is some truth to that.
And what about millets? Millets like jowar, bajri, quinoa, they are recommended to keep blood sugar low. So the question is, will it cause a balanced diet? Is it superior to the nutritional value of the traditional cereals, wheat and rice?
Madam, problem in urban and overall in India is that we have gone away from our traditional diet. So even today, I'm sure if Meeta is watching, they would have a pav bhaji for dinner, or a sandwich for dinner, or a dosa for dinner, or a ragda patties for dinner, or a chaat for dinner. And because I can see a lot of Gujaratis say that we are going to have only one single thing for dinner. So for them, it's a light meal. So they would say, I will have poha for dinner, or I will have dosa for dinner. But that is a very high carb heavy meal. If we not even try to dissect the millets and other things, and if we just go back to our traditional Indian meal, where we have roti, sabji, salad, dahi and dal, we will prevent diabetes. And if you go on to something like millets, jowar and bajra, we will surely prevent problems. But the problem is palatability is also important. You cannot push something as a punishment to our patients, because it's a lifelong exercise. So whatever I tell them that you should choose things which you can practically carry forward for the rest of your life. Do not do things because the doctor told you or the nutritionist told you. If you can do it for the rest of your life, do it. That's important. We have to change kitchens. We have patients who do not have kitchens at their house. So we need to change the type of cooking. We, as Dr. Vora said, that we need to involve people in cooking and not Ramu Kaka make my food and nobody is monitoring him. So the amount of oil needs to be 0.5 kilo per person. Everything needs to be monitored. That's the only way you can have a healthy family and at the end, a healthy India.
Is it possible for you to tell us, a lot of research has been done on treatment of pre-diabetics and diabetics. So some of the new promising ones.
So a lot of treatment has been done, and a majority of treatment earlier around 2 to 3 decades back was focused on lifestyle monitoring only and lifestyle changes. And we've seen that lifestyle changes is not able to prevent diabetes by only 30 to 40%. Drugs are able to prevent diabetes. Till date, we have only metformin and another alpha glucosidase inhibitor, which has got a labeled indication for pre-diabetes. But today a lot of research is being done, especially in some forms of type 2 diabetes, which we call as monogenic diabetes, where we are able to actually identify genes. So the future in the next 10 years is going to be a lot of precision medicine. So as you come in, your blood sample will be taken to see what are the genetic abnormalities you are having. And then we could have, as you go to an astrologer and you get your next 10 years prediction, you would have a 10-year or a 15-year prediction based on your gene mapping, and drugs will be used that way. That is the future. But as of today, we have certain drugs which are being used. Too early to talk about them. They're GLP and SGLT2 and glucokinase deactivators, but none of them have shown the kind of promise for pre-diabetes. So that's why I'm saying that it still go back to the same of lifestyle and maternal nutrition, which can actually turn the wheel, because right now it is progressing very, very fast. And pandemic has also shown us that the diagnosis has been very high in India as such.
Right. I have a very interesting question from a viewer. I am a diabetic and I am given a choice of a fried samosa or a scoop of ice cream. What should I take?
It's a good question. I keep bombarded with these questions. So I would say, if you're on planet Earth and if you don't eat any of them, you're going to die. Then I would say that you take the ice cream rather than the samosa, because the ice cream is more hygienic. It's got a lot of protein and fat, and an ice cream, because of the fat, will blunt the rise of the sugar, as compared to the samosa, which is fried, which has got stuffed potato in it, and it's fried. So and the fried could be trans fats, because most of the samosas is reused oil. So I would go in for the ice cream and not the samosa.
Wow, that's a lovely answer. And the last question to you, sir, is, will pumps be the answer to future therapy?
Will insulin pumps?
Yeah, the continuous monitoring. Yes. And
so I don't think insulin pumps is the treatment for everybody. Insulin pumps are only for people with type 1 diabetes, and people can live a life free without injections with an insulin pump. For people with type 2 diabetes, there's a lot of exciting therapies down the corner. You'll have, in the next 2 to 3 years, once a week injection, which will drop your weight by 25%. So weight is the driver for diabetes and cardiovascular disease. And if you can drop your weight by 25%, which is equivalent to a bariatric surgery, then you can treat complications and prevent diabetes. So type 2 diabetes, you have to target weight. And insulin pump is the future for people, We have almost a complete artificial pancreas, where only one step is missing. And that should come in a year or two. So for type 1 diabetes, insulin pump is there. For type 2 diabetes, you're going to have better drugs for weight loss.
Thank you so much, Dr. Koval.
Thank you, Dr.
And, and as far as Dr. Amish is concerned, I think his talk was so elaborate. There is only one question, and that is that for type 1 diabetes is genetic in nature. People ask, my parents don't have it, so what wrong have I done? Why have I got it?
So as Dr. Rajiv also said, that type 1 is genetic in nature. It's just a mutation. It just happens. All the genes we get from our parents, that's a misnomer. Each child is also an individual. It is also based on their own genetical mapping, which takes place. And when that happens, when they have their own individual genetical mapping, that something goes wrong. And at that time is when they will get predisposed to type 1 diabetes. So that is what happens with those patients who are genetically predisposed. Also, we find that not all of them are genetically predisposed. Some of them have some diseases which kills their insulin secretions. So we have diseases like mumps, a lot of viral infections which will attack the slightly, possibly in future, we might say that they will also be genetically predisposed, where the viruses only kills the pancreas or the insulin of those patients and not of others. And that's when it happens. But at present, there are those who are genetically predisposed, which is their own individual gene, or secondary is that viruses also have an effect on the pancreas, where they get exposed later on after mumps. Even this time we are seeing, even after COVID, a lot of patients are coming with type 1 diabetes. So they are the ones who are having an issue. And that's what it happens. It's not necessary that there has to be a family history for type 1 diabetes. It's possible if they have it, then it's fine. They're more high risk, but it's not necessary.
Thank you so much, Dr. Amishwara. A second vote of thanks to both of you for the lovely question answer interaction session we had. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Thank you all of you.
Thank you.
And we come to an end of the first session of the seminar.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amish and Kovil.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Meeta.
Thank you, Dr. Surjit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Meeta, can we stop live streaming of YouTube now?
Yes, you can stop the live.
Yes.
Is it okay,
Okay.
no? Dr. Pallavi will stop the live streaming, no?
Yes,
Then,
we start
Kavita, please stop the live streaming. Stop the live streaming of YouTube.
Yes, we can all now leave the meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Muna, you want to end the meeting?
Yes,
Okay.
I could adjourn the meeting. I could adjourn.
Yeah,
Okay.
please, sorry. Yes, Dr. Surjit, please adjourn the meeting.
Very, very interesting meeting is adjourned, and looking forward to the next one.
आपने जिस व्यक्ति को कॉल किया है वो again later